Hi, it's Gloomy, and in this video I'm going to be yapping and rambling about one of my OCs, and this video might very well just go out into the void, but I've been having a lot of fun making it, and that's the whole point. So yeah. So in this video, the OC I'm going to be talking about is Nikolai Stitches, because he is a character that has a full backstory, and honestly that's kind of rare among my OCs, so there's like a lot that I can talk about this guy. I first made this guy in 2016. He was inspired by the Vocaloids Fukuse and Oliver. Yeah, I'd been wanting to make a creepy doll OC for about a year at that point, and I think the release of Vocaloid Fukuse, plus some of the music I was listening to at the time, I was listening to a lot of Steam Pianist, and all of that sort of culminated in Nikolai. His first name doesn't really hold any significance. The name was literally just floating around in my head at the time, and I just thought, okay, next male OC I make, I'll call him Nikolai. So I stayed true to that promise. And as for Stitches, well, I mean, that's kind of that kind of goes without saying. He's a ragdoll. So the world that most of my OCs live in is called Camino, and the biggest country in Camino is called Nekino. And 300 years ago, a 14-year-old boy named Nikolai Tremaine lived in Nekino, and he studied alchemy at Wispart School. And he was a very studious boy and quite introverted, mainly just kept to himself, read a lot of books, mainly focused on his studies. He didn't really have very many friends except for Mist, the librarian of the Glasin Library. Glasin is the country right next to Nekino, and right on the Nekino-Glasin border is the library. And I'll talk more about this library when I do Mist's video, which is probably going to be the next one. But yeah, so Nikolai Tremaine spends a lot of time in Mist's library, and that's just how his life is for a while. So throughout Camino, there is a legend about an entity known as the Shadow Thief, and the Shadow Thief is mostly considered a myth by most people. Most people do not believe that this creature is real, but as the name suggests, they steal shadows. And one day, Nikolai was just minding his own business when he came face to face with the Shadow Thief. Yep, Shadow Thief is real. So Shadow Thief is very real and is standing in front of Nikolai right now. Her main motivation is to liberate shadows, because she believes that they have a right to exist independent from their hosts. So she separates Nikolai's shadow from his body and takes his shadow to her secret Shadowland place. So the thing about disembodied shadows is that they become sentient and self-aware once they're separated from their bodies, and it is considered a very, very illegal thing to separate someone's shadow from their body, because a shadowless person becomes very, very troublesome. They're just they're all over the place. They can become depressed, they can become delinquents, they can completely lose their whole identities and everything. And also, once a shadow has got a taste of individuality, they don't really want to go back to their bodies again. They don't want to become just a regular shadow again. And I swear to God, I came up with this whole thing before Infinity Train came out. It sounds so similar to the reflections in Infinity Train, but that's like one hell of a coincidence. I don't know, I think it's just like a trope that gets used a fair amount. I've definitely seen that kind of thing before, so yeah. So anyway, so now Shadow Nikolai is in Shadowland, and what a lot of disembodied shadows do once they've been liberated is they go on a journey of self-discovery. And one of the things that they like to do is paint themselves in different colors. And Nikolai is very eager to do that. He loves... he's a very colorful person, and he's just going at it. He is covering himself with loads of bright, saturated colors, and he's having the time of his life. Shadow Thief loves all of the shadows like they're her children, and she's always like throwing parties for them. All of the disembodied shadows are having a really fun time. And years go by, and Shadow Nikolai has not thought about his host for a very, very long time. He doesn't really care what his host is getting up to. But a disembodied shadow can't live forever. Even separated, once their host dies, the shadow dies as well. And Shadow Nikolai started feeling a bit weird, like he was beginning to fade away a little bit. So he decided that no, he did not want to die, so he left Shadowland and went to the mysterious place in Camino called the Place Where Worlds Collide, which is basically Camino's North Pole. So this place is a lawless land, and logic doesn't really exist here. Anything kind of goes in the Place Where Worlds Collide because it's accumulated so much sort of weird energy from the rest of the planet. It's all kind of converged into this one place. So you get a lot of sort of dubious kind of people there, including certain people who will make ragdolls for disembodied shadows to possess. And this is also kind of an illegal thing to do because, again, it's because disembodied shadows are illegal. And it's also considered to be a form of undead, and creating the undead is also illegal in this world. But again, Where Worlds Collide is a lawless land, so who cares? So Nikolai meets up with this seamstress and is like, hey, my host is dying, can you make me a new body? And she's like, yeah, but once I've made you this body, you're going to have to fulfill your end of the bargain, and you're going to have to give me a Reaper's Scythe, or I will find you and destroy this body that I made for you. So she makes him a ragdoll body, and staying true to his promise, he does go off to find a Reaper's Scythe. And this whole Reaper's Scythe thing is kind of symbolic because the Reapers, they're sort of like, they're not exactly like the equivalent to the police or anything because they're Reapers, they're all about like death and stuff, but they are they care a lot about rules. They don't like it when rules and laws are broken, especially laws regarding the undead. So yeah, this woman is basically asking him to do something really difficult, because if a Reaper sees him, they would be like, what the hell, you can't exist, you're not supposed to exist. So yeah, so he is absolutely relishing in his new body, but obviously he does need to get this scythe if he wants to keep this new body. So he does manage to track down a Reaper, and he does manage to get the scythe, but in the process, he loses one of his eyes and his nose. Which, you know, is fair. And all of that, a few hundred years pass, and we're in the present day. He loves to absolutely cause chaos and mayhem. He's a massive troublemaker. So yeah, Nikolai is a chaotic little git who causes a lot of trouble, all in the name of fun. His motivation is basically whatever he finds fun. Yeah, he has a somewhat annoying laugh, and people either find him like extremely annoying or like the most hilarious person they've ever met, depending on their personalities. And yeah, he is very scared of sharp objects and also animals with sharp teeth and sharp claws, because he hates getting his body ripped. He's very used to patching himself up. It's like he's a lot like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas in that respect. Like he just sews himself up whenever he needs to. He's really good at sewing because he's had like 300 years worth of practice. One thing that he really likes a lot is plushies, and he also likes tea parties, and he likes having tea parties with said plushies. There is a Reaper among my OCs, and they do kind of hate each other, but they've sort of begrudgingly agreed to sort of coexist, but they still don't like each other and they still keep their distance. And I think that's all of the notable things I have left to say about him, so yeah. Just want to end this with a shout out to Pulcella Lulu, who is the one who inspired me to recreate my OCs and certain locations in Animal Crossing. Go watch her channel, she's awesome. You know what, yeah, he can have thick thighs.